how these people live.
Like a White Lotus.
Like a White Lotus, you know, like I feel like
if you like Succession and White Lotus, watch this film. It's on Hulu on July 13th.
Yes. And I think that it's a really timely topic. And I do really appreciate about your film that you're not necessarily, it's
judgmental.
No, it's not judgmental. And I don't think it's like Succession where it's like love to hate the people. Like there is a sort of, I don't know, I find a way to be empathetic to all the rich people in these scenarios. And
no, the characters all have definitely.
Lily's like Jack and Lindsay are very ungrateful guests.
That is just like, shut up and take your gift bag. Like, geez.
Yeah. Give me those Louis Vuitton slippers. Get out of here.
Seriously. But I would say like my hard line is like the drugs. Like I would then, and maybe for somebody else it'd be like my hard line is like leather goods. I don't want that, but I have no problem doing mushrooms. I like would get so nervous with that. And if somebody dosed me like without me knowing, or and I feel like at that point I'd rather not know. Like, if somebody was doing something like that and, drugs being around and maybe that's how rich people do party. And then I shouldn't party with them. But like, I would say like that would make me feel so anxious and nervous. It would ruin all the Louis Vuitton. But other than that, I would be
your mom.
And clearly I have to draw the line at axe throwing because I went on vacation with Lily and her husband, and her very competitive, muscular husband went axe throwing, and I wanted to keep up with him, Jose, and I tore up my shoulder, and 2 years later.
That's how he hurt his shoulder. Axe throwing at a fancy resort.
Okay, I'm curious. In the film, we see where your characters eventually draw the line in these various scenarios. But what about for you personally? Like, how much are these characters in any way drawn from you two as people? And where do you fall in that line?
That's a great question. We talked a lot about like vacation life when we were working on this. Like what do you want when you go away, right? Like you're going away to Iceland, or like you get, obviously like Jack and Lindsay get swept up on this trip, but this idea of vacation talk where you're like, when we get back, we're going to remodel the house, or we're going to start working out at 5 a.m. every day. Like there is this element of fantasy that I think we can all relate to regardless of the level of vacation that you're on, where you're dreaming of something outside of yourself, or that when you come back, you're going to be different people. This vacation is going to change you, whether it's like camping or, a 5-star like resort in Tahoe or something. So that was kind of the element that we threaded through that we could relate to, especially being a couple on vacation, because often you make these agreements together. You're like, so we're gonna, and then I'm gonna. And so we kind of thought, wow, if they're stuck in life and they are exposed to something that's so different from themselves, what kind of promises are they trying to make? Where are they intersecting, and where are they finding that they're still just hitting the same road bumps no matter what the scenery is? And so I think for Michael and I, it was like, what is the most outrageous thing that we could put these people through, which would be really fun? And then secondly, like, what are their reactions? I don't know. Like there's a part of Jack and Lynn's that are so us. And then there's also these places where we had to diverge and think like what matters to them, where would like Michael is going to sing karaoke and maybe smash a bass and not think twice about it. Right. He's a monster. No, I'm just kidding. But he is great at karaoke. But like Jack is horrified by this the next day. Like he can't live it down. Right. So I think like, would you get to the point where you're like breaking things in someone's house? I mean, then you'd be out on the first night. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm such a control freak in general in life. So there's a thing for me of like, and by the way, like I'm not afraid of going to music festivals and, and casually enjoying substances and kind of doing things, but there is a level to me of like, I can't get out of, like, I need to make sure that everyone is safe. I've kind of had this like Papa Bear thing with everything where it's like, I need to make sure everybody's okay while we're doing this. I think it's why Britt and I travel so well together, work so well together, is we actually text each other often and are like, God, I love traveling with you because you're so fucking organized. Like, right. Same thing where it's like, good. Like back to the Iceland thing, Britt actually was just in Europe for about 3 weeks. And she was telling the story about this trip where like, every day was 7 activities. And that's where a lot of pretty problems stem from, was traveling with my ex and her family and doing these things where I was like, oh my God, can we just sit down and watch
Like
the
when it's
sunset?
like going on vacation with our mom. Our mom is
Yeah, it's like we're sitting on the edge of the Mediterranean Sea. Can we just watch the sunset? I don't need
Bike ride at 5:30, hors d'oeuvres at
It's like,
6:30. Yeah.
and I think that was a big thing with the difference between, and again, like I'm an egomaniac. I wrote all the male characters for me because I didn't know what this movie was going to look like. So I wanted to be able to play any of those roles.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, look, I think there's a really common thing that happens with independent films, specifically, and really comedies, where you're like, let's grab somebody who's on hiatus from a TV show, right? Because they're going to be more recognizable than we are. And, Britt has worked a bunch as an actor. I've worked less than she has. And so it's the thing, we're like, let's get to, actors we like, but who we can put in the lead roles. And then we were like, no, screw it. Let's do it with our friends. Let's do it with us. Like, let's just go together and be our little chosen family that we've created and make this movie. But the line I draw on those types of trips is like, okay, I'm a good time, but also I'm going to be the one that's cleaning up the vase, and I'm going to be the one that's making sure everyone is having water while also making sure that it's having wine at the same time, but just trying to keep everybody hydrated and balanced.
Mine is sleep. Sleep. 100%. Like I have to sleep. I'm a sleeper. I love to sleep. I love to party. I love to hang. Britt. Yeah, but it's like, man, if I'm not well rested, I am trouble. That's my line.
I did like in the movie how it seemed like your accommodations were very comfortable. You had eye mask. You did get a sleep. No one woke you up in the morning. So I was like, maybe I could let the other stuff